You're listening to the Fire Time magazine.
Bureaucrat, Whiner, Fundamentalist, or Linchpin. It's your choice. By Tim Reed. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that consumer behavior has changed more in the last 10 years than the 40 before it. And you can start by measuring your own habits. Do you open up your phone to get directions, use Uber or a similar service to get around in a new city, order household goods on Amazon Prime, look at reviews before going to a new restaurant, rent a stranger's home for your vacation, or get annoyed when services are not fast and convenient? Most of you listening to this will resonate with all of these, and if you're ardently holding on to the old ways, you've probably still seen these behaviors become the norm for everyone else. Our behavior proves that there has been a shift in the way that we do things. This isn't up for debate. What is up for debate is why our industry continues to ignore the reality that the world we enjoyed yesterday is gone. If we aren't willing to step into a new frontier, we'll be left behind. I believe a simple drawing can explain this. In Seth Godin's bestseller, Linchpin, Are You Indispensable?, he draws a vertical axis of attachment and a horizontal axis of passion, then labels 4 key characters in each quadrant. While this can apply to many things, it is especially relevant with our industry's approach to technology and the changes that have been coming and will continue to come as the digital age fully sets in. It would be wise to place yourself on this chart and ask who will be the most successful in the future. The Bureaucrat. The bureaucrat is a person or company who is low on passion and low on attachment. They actually discern really well, as they don't hold tightly onto the past, but their lack of passion for innovating has sucked them dry. And so they become rule makers and followers, trying to legislate the change that is needed, because legislation is safe, and they won't be individually blamed if it doesn't work, rather than empowering people to be change makers and take responsibility for the work that might fail. The bureaucrat has no foundations to fall back on when things get tough, only rules, policies, and other people to blame. The whiner. The whiner is attached to the way things have always been, but they don't have the passion to fight to maintain it. Their only choice is to whine. Companies or individuals who are the whiner are content to maintain the status quo and complain that nothing is good enough. Why would they invest in new technology when it won't work like their old system? Why would they join an industry association or step up to fight against unfair regulation when it's safer to sit on the sidelines and complain about what's going wrong? They're right about one thing. Complaining from the sidelines is safe. But the problem with being on the sidelines is that you aren't in the game. And, just as Kodak found out, the game will move on without you. The fundamentalist zealot. Similar to the whiner, the fundamentalist is overly attached to the way things have always been. But unlike the whiner, the fundamentalist is passionate about maintaining the status quo. The fundamentalist also lacks any kind of discernment for the future. Whether an individual or company, this is the mentality that I've seen most in our industry. The fundamentalist sees any new technology, any new competition, or any new innovation as a threat to the status quo that they are so attached to. To keep their world safe, quote, innovation must come through proper channels and look strikingly like the old way of doing things, thus choking true innovation from ever taking place. To quote Seth Godin, fundamentalist zealots always manage to make the world smaller, poorer, and meaner. The linchpin. The linchpin can discern what is happening around them because they aren't overly attached to the way it's always been. They're also passionate about creating a better future, and they're willing to put themselves on the hook for it. An individual or company who is a linchpin is willing to risk reputation, prestige, money, or embarrassment because their commitment to creating a better world leaves them no alternative. This means that technology is embraced, competition is seen as a worthy rival, innovation is welcomed, and ego is never too big to be wrong. A linchpin sees the world as it is and is thankful for it, but is not content to let it remain that way. Even though this is the minority, it is growing, and it only takes a few linchpins to make significant change. Now, over the last 15 years, tools that were previously reserved for the elite have become available to everyone. Anyone today has access to communication tools, marketing tactics, automation software, and other resources that, even a decade ago, would have cost thousands and thousands of dollars. But now, they're available for cheap or free. Often, though, these tools are ignored because they aren't understood, and pivoting to use them could mean a threat to or disruption of the status quo. One piece of low-hanging fruit is to invest in your website. When you think about it, what is a website? Unlike 20 years ago, it is the front door to your business. But is that how most companies treat it? Let's press the analogy a little further. If you have all kinds of customers lined up at the front door, would it be worth it to invite them in? You bet. But do we do this with our websites? Do our websites help customers clearly understand how our products solve their problems? Hint, they don't if they're organized by zero clearance, insert, or other terms that customers don't understand. What if we could use automation tools like email marketing, video streaming, and PDF generation to make it easy for our customers to actually understand what would work in their spaces and how much it would cost? Some might say that putting our prices on the internet hurts our brands, but I would argue the opposite, because doing so helps our customers. A bureaucrat can't stand up to make this decision, and it's too risky for the whiner, while a fundamentalist would simply shut it down as a threat. It takes a linchpin to make this happen in our company. Now, let's take product innovation. Do our customers want a gas fireplace with another decorative front? Or a more detailed log set? No, they don't. Let's be honest. Our log sets look great, and we already have too many decorative fronts. If we look at our customers' behavior, what do they want? Well, like the rest of us, they live in an overly complicated world, and they never have enough time to do the things that matter. Creating connections is harder than ever. On top of that, they want things to be easy and convenient. Can a fireplace solve any of those problems? Absolutely. Why are we just now scratching the surface of creating a decent fireplace app? Sorry, an app that runs on Bluetooth doesn't count. Well, it's simple. We were afraid. We would make excuses like, we can't have a fireplace that could turn on when someone's not home. But the truth is that we've been doing that for 25 years with a remote control thermostat. Who's going to create the first fireplace that turns on when you get within 500 feet of your home, or initiates family time between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m.? What about the gas fireplace that sounds like a fireplace? You can choose to make fun of it or make excuses, but that's what customers want. Creating this innovation is risky because it might not work. It isn't safe. It means taking responsibility and putting yourself on the line, which is exactly what we need. Again, the bureaucrat sees too many things that might go wrong with this. The whiner is content to simply point out potential flaws, and the fundamentalist will fight against it to maintain what is, quote, safe. Only the linchpin can deliver what our customers actually want. Finally, let's consider another opportunity. Existing fireplaces that were built into homes in the 80s and 90s. I've personally secret shopped retailers all over the country, and the second I say that I may need a zero clearance fireplace, salespeople usually throw up their hands and say, you know that's going to cost you $10,000, right? Then they proceed to tell me every reason that I shouldn't change the fireplace out, all of the trades that I will need to replace it, and everything that could possibly go wrong in the process. Is it any wonder that we aren't selling as many of those jobs as we should? When you take a step back and think about it, nearly all of the gas fireplaces installed into new construction homes in the 80s and 90s share something in common: their framing size. That size happens to be 42 inches wide, 22 inches deep, and approximately 34 inches high. Now, most of these fireplaces vent off the back, but some do vent off the top. Based on this, if I'm a manufacturer that wants to grow market share, why would I put effort into making the biggest, baddest fireplace just to keep up with the competition when there's a massive opportunity to win work in millions of homes across North America that no one else is going after? While everyone else chases fireplaces that only work in new construction spaces, which is less than 10% of most retailers' book of business, who will be the first to go after the retro market? Who will make fireplaces that don't have the biggest flame or put out the most heat, but solve a specific problem for millions of customers who are currently being ignored? Again, this is too risky for the bureaucrat. They can't get blamed if it doesn't work. The whiner can only complain, not innovate. And the fundamentalist wants more of the same, bigger, not smarter. This only leaves the linchpin. Each of these is an example of innovation that we would be wise to pursue. In some cases, it involves technology, while in others, a change of perspective. But in each example, the work is risky because it might fail. What happens if you redo your website to make it easy for customers and it doesn't take off right away? What about when you make the perfect app for your fireplace and the market doesn't respond to it? Or when you create the perfect retro fireplace and your dealer network rejects it? Does that make it wrong? Nope. It means you saw an opportunity and tried something that wasn't guaranteed to succeed, and you need to do it again. We could use a lot more of that. We need linchpins who will make changes, not heartless bureaucrats, spineless whiners, or fundamentalist zealots holding onto a sinking ship. But who will step up? Who will risk embarrassment to be the one that drives our industry forward? In closing, listen to each of these questions and ask yourself how each of the four groups would respond: the bureaucrat, the whiner, the fundamentalist zealot, and the linchpin. Understanding each perspective may help you become an agent of change in your company or your own life. Should we sell our products on the internet? How do we get the trade show back to its former glory? What has COVID-19 taught me about my business? How can we serve our customers more in this new landscape? What is happening around us that we haven't noticed? Where am I holding on to the way things have been because fear doesn't want my world disrupted? We know that change is coming, and it's foolish to ignore it. Just ask the record industry, the taxi industry, and Blockbuster Video. What if we pushed into the change, embraced the fear, and created a map where none currently exists? The future is coming, whether we like it or not. Let's have a hand in creating a better world instead of holding on to the old one so tightly that we're swept away with it.
Thank you for listening to the Firetime Magazine. For more content, visit thefiretimemagazine.com.